I actually picked up that towards the end of season one. That
Yeah.
he was somewhat misunderstood, but it also seemed like the whole argument that we had with Jenny in episode one was a misunderstanding on his part because he was jealous of her being away with his boss.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all a crazy misunderstanding. I mean, Giles, you know, Giles's granddad. There's never ever going to be anything going on between Jenny and Giles, but he's silly. He's a jealous boy, and he takes that the wrong way. And of course, he gets himself into the situation with Kylie. That he's been drinking, and he sees her, and she's obviously quite willing to throw herself at him, and he's a silly boy, and he takes it home. And thankfully, he realizes, you know, his mistake just in time, and he stops. But you know, any woman, if you've been away and you come back and you find a thong on the living room floor, it's not going to end well.
No. Well, let's talk about Jenny a little bit. Jenny seems to make up her mind about things and then close her mind.
Yeah.
There was nothing Paul could say to her was going to break the ice or get her to soften her position about that.
Do you mean Rob? With the
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, she's quite, when she decides something, she's quite headstrong. Jenny is very, very headstrong, and she's quite flighty as well. And so when she decides something, that's it until she changes her mind again and decides on something else. And so she's kind of, I mean, she's kind of unreasonable, and she can be a bit mental at times.
Yes, she
And she's I mean, she's an intelligent woman. She's, you know, she has a good career. She knows what she's doing, and she's getting on with things. But she could do with calming down a little bit. Her friends, I feel sorry for Sam and Jess, her friends, because I think they're quite long suffering.
Well, and Jenny is not the victim necessarily. I think she likes to think herself the victim.
Absolutely. Yeah, she does. She would describe herself as the victim, but she's kind of the architect of her own downfall. You know, the situation she finds herself in are mostly of her own volition. I mean, okay, certainly Rob's jealousy of Giles probably isn't something she can do an awful lot about.
But the flashbacks to the night of the threesome.
Yes.
She was not only a willing participant, she seemed to be the one that was bringing up the suggestion.
Oh yeah, she absolutely, it was her idea. She wanted it. She was quite jealous of the fact that the boys had one without her, and she didn't like that. So yeah, she's a jealous girl. She gets jealous and she doesn't like it. She wants to be the center of attention all the time. And so her way of being the center of attention on that particular occasion was the threesome. And it was also an excuse to be with Rob, who, you know, she had feelings for.
Oh, there was an attraction, just as they were sitting on the sofa talking and sipping drinks. She was attracted to him.
Oh yeah, I mean,
facing him, all of her attention was to him, and Paul was behind her. He was getting absolutely none of her.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think the body language, and again, that's something our director Paul worked with us on quite a bit. The body language between Rob and Jenny is quite intimate. I mean, they're holding hands at one point, and I mean, because it's shot in POV and it's shot from Paul's POV, and Paul sees the fact that they're holding hands. And she's got her legs draped across him, and yeah, there's an attraction there, absolutely. And the fact that she's not physically being with Paul in 6 months, I think, has heightened that. You know, she's got this guy whom she loves, Paul. I mean, don't get me wrong, she does. She adores him. She loves him desperately. But the love is at this point is brother sister, because they've not been together in a long time. It's very platonic. And then with Rob, she's got this guy who's very sexual, very overtly sexual, as she is. She's quite a sexual woman. And of course, you've got those two energies coming together. So yeah, there's an attraction there, definitely.
It was. Is she going to settle down in the next season, or is she going to continue what she's talking about?
No, she's still pretty mental. She's actually more mental, I think, in the second series. You see more. Because now we've established a story. There's more time to really explore the characters and show their thoughts, and we get to, it's quite fun, we get to bring in some new characters as well, and you see a bit more of Rob's family, and you understand a bit more about Paul's background. So it's fun. It's time for us to expand things and to learn more about the characters. I think this series was very much about establishing what the situation was and getting to the point where the three of them were in a room together.
Now you have series 2 completed, or it's written, correct?
It's written. It's currently it's written. It's on a second draft. It's with the readers, those mythical readers who read things and send notes. I think it's with 4 readers, and I've got feedback from 3, so I'm waiting for feedback from one of the readers, and then we'll go into the next draft. So the plan is to have the script completed by the beginning of summer, and then we would like to film in the autumn, but it's budgets and funding, those usual things which LSR is dealing with. I don't get involved in the money side of it. I just direct it and write it. So that's coming. But we will have something brief shooting over the summer months that we can play out in the autumn. Just a little something for the viewers, just to keep them going. Okay,
and keep everybody's interest and keep them there. Let us know. We're excited. You use some really interesting music in 3 States. In all of the episodes, some very pure musical acts.
Yeah.
But we checked them out, and some of them Thief and some of the others we really like a lot. Where did you find
them? The music, I was absolutely clear that I wanted to use acts that were either unsigned or up and coming, because really with Threesome, I mean, obviously with the exception of Annette and Simon and also Edmund, who plays Giles, a lot of the talent is up and coming, people who are either new to the industry or been around the industry a few years, and certainly with the crew, a lot of the crew were very much people who had either newly graduated or, moving on or changing career slightly. So we wanted the music to reflect that as well. We wanted it to be people who were coming up in the industry or changing direction. So how we found the music, some of it was via friends and people we know. I mean, for example, Kerry Norton, who does the first song, Say Goodbye, in series episode 1, which is such a wonderful song. She's a very long-standing friend of Elisar's, and she was very kind enough to give us access to that song, because I heard it and I loved it, and I said I really want that in the first episode. I have to go through thinking. Tom Cox, he was a friend of Linda's, who was the set designer for our stage show, and also saw some of the props that you see in the final episode of episode 6. And she and I were talking about music for the series, and she suggested to me to listen to some of his songs, and I did, and I heard them and I loved them, so I chose one. We have also Shy for Sure, who is a great friend of mine, Oz Page, that's his band, and I went to university with him, and he was always into music in university. And so again, when I knew I was planning this, I contacted him and said, please give me, your some of your music. Please, can I use some of your music? And I went through and I heard that, which was great. We have a fantastic composer, Cameron McEwen, also known as Blog to who I'm sure you know of on the internet as well. Is one of the top Doctor Who websites, and he composed the theme tune, and he also composed several of the songs that you hear in the background, and several of the songs that are on the theme tune as well. So he's an amazing guy, and he continues to write more for us and compose more for us. There's more music coming up in the next series that we're working on.
It was wonderful. Some of it was so, I don't use the word obscure, but so indie. They're not on iTunes. We found them on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
We've been doing research and going through and checking them all out. They don't even have EPs or in many cases downloadable tracks of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also, there's 2 others, and you have to help me with names here of people. We have Mark
Venice.
Mark Venice. As I said, we have Mark Venice, again a friend of Elisar's, and his was one of the first songs I heard, and I had this idea in my head that for episode 5 I wanted these moments where the 2 of them were getting dressed and you saw the parallels between them. So even though they've split up and they're not together anymore, they're doing the same thing. They're a couple, they are still going through the same rituals they would go through if they were getting ready to go out together. And I'd heard his song, and I just remember thinking that's perfect, because it's called Uncharted Water, and it's about sailing off in uncharted water, which they're doing because they're going out separately instead of going out as a couple, even though they both end up in the same pub. So, you know, that's the thing. And then we had Thief, and Thief are, again, a very new band, actually, an unsigned band. And literally, again, that was through Oz and his encyclopedic knowledge of the UK music scene. And he put me in touch with them, and they had their Friend Lover, which says it all, really.